What's up, Wisconsin? For the last time in 2023, welcome back to the Inside Wisconsin show here on YouTube and wherever you do your podcasting. Trevor Thomas, John Anderson, J.A., the best of episode. It's my favorite all year long. I look forward to this one.
Well, sure. That's because we've done all the work, and now it's just kind of an editing thing, right?
Sure.
So let's be honest. It's not the most heavy lifting as we come through there, but it is. It's always nice to make it to the end of the year. You're like, oh, good. Well, we made it through the end of the year. This is positive sign. But you go back and you think, gosh, we talked to some really fun Wisconsin people. Like if we're trying to fulfill the mission to talk about really unique stories and unique people in our state, I feel like that's mission accomplished.
Killing it.
Kenny Mayne's not quite a Wisconsinite, he is at heart. And since
those stories, what a great way to kick off the year. Kenny Mayne's stories. I believe I didn't have Hayward, Wisconsin on my bingo card, but there we were to kick off the year with Kenny.
Yeah, and he's just sneaky funny. Like when he talks about like you don't want to really kill people because there's a lot of paperwork involved. Like he's the funniest guy, and I miss him a lot. I'll be honest. I like it back. So we were most recently texting. He tells a great story. I don't know if he told. I don't remember if he told us the podcast because it was a year ago.
Yeah.
When he got in a car, he was in a cab ride, and he was going to do a story on Joe Flacco, and the cabbie, and Joe had signed this big contract, and the cabbie looked at him and goes, Joe Flacco is making nanny money. He doesn't even know his kids. He's making nanny money. And so as Joe was just recently, took over in Cleveland and won a game, and then it comes out that if they somehow go to the Super Bowl, he could like $4 million in incentives. So we have been exchanging just texts that yell nanny money.
Nanny money.
Our man. So, but
yeah, we actually got you to come home this year and talk to Bob Harlan in the atrium. How surreal was that?
Well, I mean, without Bob Harlan, there would not have been an atrium to talk to him. we would maybe still been out in the parking lot. But certainly that is a man that had the vision, both for the Packer franchise and where kind of the NFL was going and pro football was going. And years from now, and I mean like 50 years from now, we will still be talking about being indebted to him and him stumping for a single penny sales tax.
Seriously. It's unreal.
So, yeah, he was great. And I'll be honest, I think I'm not so sure that my favorite guy of the whole year wasn't Alec Ingold.
Yeah, Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for the Dolphins. What a guy. Unbelievable.
And I sent you a text earlier this year, earlier in the last month or so, when Tyreek Hill, their big star wide receiver, the guy talking about him and could he be the MVP? And he's like, really, the MVP of our team is a guy you probably don't even think about or don't even hear from, and it's Alec Ingold. Like, even those guys know who their guy is.
How special a dude is. I wrote down that we had broadcasters, Badgers, Packers, Brewers, comedians, actors, coaches, gold medalists again with Dan Jansen. And people ask me a lot, Jay, and I'm curious to know your feedback on this. They go, Trevor, which one is your favorite episode? And I'm like, gosh, we've done 72 now, and these are all so different. However, there's one that sticks out, and it happened this year.
What do you got?
Miss America. Grace Stinky. She was unbelievable.
I'll be honest. Other than she makes me feel really bad about myself as a human being. Like, I feel like I should be achieving more. So I don't know. Like, yes, she was so impressive that I felt bad about myself. So I'm not, I do know that of the 72 people we've ever had on, we did have my least favorite person. But I did it for you. We came on and talked to the former UW Whitewater coach, which I don't know that people truly know what I had to do to work myself up to talk to that clown. But we did it for you because you've got a big Whitewater background, and that's how I managed.
He was fantastic and very well loved.
He was a guest.
You guys, you were funny. You two were funny.
He was a guest. So we'll have to wait and see.
That somebody clipped that. Remember, somebody grabbed the video from that and put it on Missouri or wherever it was. My God! And
you got a feel for just how much each side dislikes the other.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's bad. And then Gilbert Brown wanted to punch you in the face to highlight.
You worried about? I know you worried that Gilbert was going to kill me. But
I was.
It's fine. These are just hazards of the business sometimes. But we should just point out, Kansas guys, sometimes that's how they are. Could be. That could be at the root of it. So, and then if we have to show one thing in here somewhere, please show Shaka talking about how he used to sneak into his high school gym and nearly got thrown in jail. So I feel like that's great for the Marquette coach as well.
Feel like they're doing pretty well from a guy that used to.
A lot of stuff. How long is this episode? An hour? 24 hours?
Yeah, no, not 24 hours, but it's a good one. And very rarely do things hit the cutting room floor because that's just it. We just let these people talk. Right. We're not married to an hour anymore like we were in the beginning. So there will be some recap here. These are the best of pieces of 2023 on the Inside Wisconsin Show.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Provea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, smash the like button, just get with us.
Did I miss the Inside Wisconsin ball drop at your house with the confetti and the marching bands and Dick Clark Entertainment or not?
I thought you said bald drop, and I'm like, really? We're starting the new year with a bald joke?
I can't go to Starbucks because the guy who ran Starbucks sold the Seattle Sonics to people who don't live in Seattle. I have not been back to Starbucks since 2008. I started a boycott. We're talking about the old Howard Schultz, the guy who ran Starbucks, yep. And he was the number one percentage holder of a large group of people who ran the Sonics, and they sold the Sonics. So we blame him mostly. It's probably unfair, but you got to do something to get out your anger. So I would go to Starbucks and say, give me 2 shots of espresso with the tears of Gus Williams. And I got something out of it. The customers in line thought I was weird. The baristas like, just move, old guy, keep moving. Finally, my daughter, Annie, who was only about 8 or 9 at the time, said, Dad, this is the dumbest boycott. Either you go or you don't go. If you go and you purchase their stuff, you're not really doing much, Yeah, you get off your great Gus Williams joke. By the way, I hope Gus Williams is doing better. He had a little health issues out, recovering. We had an event for Slick Watts and Gus Williams in Seattle not too long ago. So wishing him the best.
These things kind of go hand in glove, right? Nothing's in a vacuum. How fortunate were you that you were winning a lot of football games and had a compelling team?
That was huge. If we were going in here after the 70s and 80s, it would have been very tough. Mm-hmm. But we're just coming off one Super Bowl victory, and it carried I always used to tell Ron Wolf, thank God you're here, and you did this for us. Because it just, and we lost the next one, obviously, but still, we were there 2 years in a row. When we were going through I came here in 71. When we were going through the 70s and 80s, fans used to call me and say, Bob, the Lombardi era, that's the last great era the Green Bay Packers are ever going to have. You're never going to win again. It's over. We're too small. NFL's bypassed us. Once we brought Ron Wolf in fall of 91, those calls stopped immediately. Everybody knew, hey, they do want to win. They're making a big move. And Ron Wolf not only took over this team and made it a winner, but when you think of the moves he made, his first 3 moves were gigantic. Mike Holmgren was the hottest assistant coach in the league, could have gone any place in the league. He came to Green Bay. Mm-hmm. When Ron traded for the number 1 draft choice to Atlanta for Brett Favre, fans used to call me and say, who the hell did you just hire in, Wolf? And what's this madman doing? And then he goes out and he gets Reggie White when nobody thought we had a prayer for it. Reggie White's traveling the world. Everybody's blowing up balloons and playing horns and giving him parades. He comes to Green Bay. We took him over to a little restaurant and took him down the stadium. Ron Wolf walked him down the ramp into the stadium and said, Reggie said, look at the names up in this bowl. He says, you're already a great player in this league, a hero in this league, an all-pro. You can go any place and do that. You come here and you can be a legend. And Reggie himself told me, he said, as I got on the plane to leave Green Bay, I turned to my agent, Jimmy Sexton, and I said, don't be surprised if this is where we wind up. So Ron made the big moves. We took off immediately. I mean, I was shocked we could win the Super Bowl in 5 years myself. But Ron Wolf and Mike Holmgren deserve so much credit for turning this franchise. We had 24 years where we had 5 winning seasons, 2 playoff appearances, a fan base that was extremely upset. And now we've had, after those men, 32 years of winning football, 2 quarterbacks. One's in the Hall of Fame, the other one will be there shortly. And it's a different franchise.
Some people grew up in that part. Some of us grew up for the 24 years with the two winning seasons when it came.
John, I was here. They were not fun, believe me.
Did you have the key to your high school gym?
Oh, I could tell you some great stories about that one. I did not have the key. My high school coach, I'm glad you asked because I wanted to bring him up. His name's Kevin Bavery. He's now coaching at Middleton High School, which is also, just outside of Madison. And he took me under his wing. He put his arm around me and treated me like one of his own. And I would call him. I had this thing where I love to be in the gym on Friday and Saturday nights because obviously that's a time when other people might be doing other things. Mm-hmm. And so I would call him on Fridays and Saturday nights, and he would open up the gym for me. I normally didn't have a key, but he would get me in the gym. But I will say this, and I don't know if he even knows this. If I couldn't get a hold of him, I had another way, and that was there was this gate that kind of closed off the gym. And if I could find my way in the school, which there's a couple different ways to get in the school, there was about 3 feet between the gate and the ceiling. So if I climbed up the gate and got over the gate, but under the ceiling, I could get in the gym. Wow. So I would do that from time to time. But I also, John, I once almost got arrested for refusing to leave the gym.
Wow.
That was a great one. But I ended up leaving because that might not have been good, getting arrested.
That would have been great, though. What's this man's offense? He was trying to play basketball too long. That's terrible. All right, are you ready? Here we go. This is we call this the speed round, the nonsense round, whatever. First off,
let's do it.
Who would win a fight between you and Allison Dairyland?
Oh my gosh, probably Allison Dairyland. If I'm being completely honest, she knows what she's doing. I do not. I've taken one boxing class. That's it.
There you go. Taylor Schaefer probably gets the best of you. Give me your favorite place on the UW campus.
I love, this is going to sound super nerdy, but engineering hall at the research lab I worked with, there's nothing like the little hum of machines that just I'm I'm at peace. Like, this is my life.
Mm-hmm. Okay. They serve beer in the union, right?
Yeah, I do, but I'm not 21.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I've been in that union before I was 21 too, and it didn't matter. I feel like you can. I bet that sash can get you a lot of things that you have no idea.
Oh my gosh!
There you go. True or false? There's a badger on the Wisconsin state seal.
False, I think. Now I'm questioning it. Am
I
wrong?
It's true. There is a badger on the state seal.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it's right below the forward. Yeah. Right
I realize you're Miss America now, but you're going to go out and you're going to have to represent us. Okay, so let's.
I'm so disappointed in myself.
Yeah,
I just kind of went. I was like, no, Badger is specifically UW Madison.
All right, I didn't want to have to do this to you, but now I'm gonna. What's the state bird?
I know the state rock and the state tree and everything. Isn't the state bird? Is it a robin?
It is. What is the state tree?
Sugar maple.
Perfect. What's the state flower?
That one is wood violet.
Because there is a Miss Wood Violet too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's the state? What's the state fish?
I'm gonna go with a muskie.
It is a muskie. Okay. We're good. So we can send you out in the world. You're fine. You're not going to. That's really good. Which ESPN Sports Center anchor was born in Wausau, Wisconsin?
Really? Yeah. I didn't know we had somebody that got out of Wausau. Was it you? One of you two?
I'm not a Sports Center.
No idea. I have no idea.
She then moved to Illinois, but Nicole Mansky was born in Wausau, Wisconsin. Good Packer fan.
I did not know that.
Now you know. Yeah.
That's good to know.
How far do I live from a nuclear power plant?
Where are we going off of Wisconsin?
No, in Connecticut.
Ooh, in Connecticut, there's a couple in New York along the Great Lakes.
We have one in Connecticut.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I live 65 miles from the Millstone nuclear power station.
Cool.
And then I'm only 60 miles from the sub base, which is great because they have 16 nuclear submarines down there in Groton.
They have tons there. They're always hiring people and always looking.
Let's see. There's some other ones. Where's the one? Oh, yeah. Okay. So Trevor asked, how long do you have to wear the sash? How many sashes do you have? Do you have a replacement?
2.
You got a backup. Good. You should have a spare. It's kind of like Harry. You need the air and then you need the spare.
Mm-hmm.
Population of Wausau is roughly 40,000. How many of those people do you know?
I would go 20,000.
And how many
Jeez.
claim to know you?
I would go 30,000.
Yeah,
I have had the weirdest people be like, Grace and I were best friends in high school. And I'm like, I don't know your name. I have no idea who you are. Like, what are you doing?
I'm hoping you can confirm where Fez is from. Can you tell us?
Sure. Fez is from.
Knew it. I pegged that. I told Amanda before we got it. That's where he's from.
Oh, Lord.
That's where he is. I love it. Thank you for clearing that up.
Sure. Glad to do it.
All right. I get to chime in with my nonsense now. I want to know, because of the Braves Association and then in Atlanta, how well did you know Hank Aaron?
Fairly well. I mean, as a kid, because
That's
I mean,
crazy.
I'm going to the ballpark tagging along with my dad, and because he's doing games, and his he had a game day routine, and that's where I picked up mine. Here's how you prepare. But we get down to the ballpark so early. I'm walking around the clubhouse, just kind of hanging out. It was. And Hank Aaron, and I'm at the cage watching Hank Aaron take swings, and he's asking me how my little league team's doing. It's like, come on, man. And so, and I should probably show you something. Can I? Is it cool for me to get up from the desk here for one second? Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Talk among yourselves while I'm gone.
What do you have there, Trev?
I was going to show him a signed baseball by Hank Aaron, but I have a bad feeling that whatever he's about to grab is going to make this look dumb.
Right. You might want to just set that there as a paper weight for the moment and see what happens.
No, but those are really, I've got the same thing. And again, along the lines of going through all the stuff at my folks' house. So this is a game used. This is a game used
the hammer.
Aaron bat. Yeah. And so my dad had always said, I'm going to get Henry to sign this. And then he said, he's asked all the time, to sign stuff. So I'm not going to do it. But you can see remnants of pine tar on here, the 44 on the handle, the whole bit. And so, I mean, and here's another thing for you. Look, my dad was a relief pitcher, and as he always said, not good enough to start, not good enough to finish. He was a middle reliever, but and you always see guys, they get the final out or something like that, and they get the ball. My dad kept those, and he would write on them. And so, like 1954, this is a 1954 baseball, and I'm probably doing a terrible job, but it's 1954, and he's got it written on here. Braves 13, Cubs 2, fifth win, complete game. It was his only complete game as a Brave. He had a couple as a Milwaukee Brave. He had a couple with the Boston Braves, but it was Labor Day, 8 hits. So there's a bag full of these baseballs, and so I mean I can just sit there and just you kind of soak in that, and it's it's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
What was the question? Did that answer the question? I have no idea.
Did, yeah. So yes, Trevor has no idea how offensive linemen work, how they play. For a guy who's 6'8" and 400 pounds, he has no appreciation for offensive linemen. He thinks Joe Thomas is like the 38th best player ever at Wisconsin. So I want you to explain to him how good Orlando Pace was and having to go against that guy in practice.
So our coach always told us low man wins, right? So since you were a little kid, right, in little league football, low man wins, low man wins, and low man wins. And I used to have to go against Orlando Pace on that board drill. I don't think it's illegal nowadays, but board drill. And all of a sudden you're going on the board drill, and he's obviously 6'8". I'm below him, and all of a sudden I start going backwards, and my coach is like, "Well, we always said low man wins." Well, God is fair, and genetics override some of that stuff. So low man doesn't always win. And for guys like that in particular.
Yeah. Give me the nicest thing you've ever said about Michigan.
I don't know if I've ever said anything really nice.
Don't start now.
I'm not going to. No.
Good, not mad. I was standing in the Rose Bowl end zone when Joe Germain completed the pass to David Boston. I was in Arizona at the time. Where were you?
I was on the sideline hoping that there wasn't more than 15 seconds left on that clock because we had to go back out there and make sure Jake Plummer couldn't lead him back down the field with like 38 seconds to go in that game.
Were you on the bench? Were you on the sideline watching close?
No, we were up watching. We were up watching at that point in time, yes.
Good. True or false? On Wisconsin is the best fight song in the Big Ten.
True.
Yeah, absolutely. How many times have you sung Carmen, Ohio in your life?
Too many.
You would rather play golf with Jack Nicklaus or Andy North?
Jack Nicklaus.
Ooh.
It's fine.
We'll fix that.
Do you think cheese curds are overrated? NIT tournament question.
I gave it up for Lent. I gave up all fried food, so right now I'm not eating cheese curds, but they're not overrated. No,
and there's still time. Mark Johnson won his 7th natty at Wisconsin the other day. Do you go pick guys like that? Do you go pick their brain?
I would love to. I haven't yet got a chance to meet him. They told me don't text him because he doesn't text, so I got to reach out and call him and say congratulations. But I'm looking forward to. I look forward to talking to him. I've talked with the volleyball coach, just trying to pick their brains. Obviously, not just about how they do it, but also in particular how they've done it here.
Finally, in Ohio, Trevor will never know this, but I'm hoping you will. In Ohio State's 1968 win over Michigan, why did Woody Hayes go for 2 when he was up 50-14 with $1:23 left in the fourth quarter?
Because he couldn't go for 3.
God, that is exactly right. He was ready for the XFL back in the day.
I love it.
The single greatest question in quotation in quote in football history, because I couldn't go for 3. I don't know if you knew that, Trev, but these are the kind of people I love. That's what I would do to KU if I could.
I've told somebody that I grew up in that, that rivalry, that, those kinds of guys. And getting to know Coach Alvarez, he fits right in the mold. That's why I used to tell Coach, I'm not sure I liked you very much because I felt like I was looking in the mirror. I knew that if I was on your team, I would love you. But being on the other side of the team, I knew that this was like something that, hey, they're too much like me. We think too much alike. So those are kind of the era that I grew up in Ohio. And, I would say it's very similar to this as well.
Rob, this is the first show I've done that I've not worn something Wisconsin related.
Okay.
This Avon Old Farms, I'm wearing my son's high school in honor of you and your son. And let's forget about the Packers and let's forget about Aaron Rodgers. We need to talk about the really important things in life. 30-0, your son and the Redbirds are state champs.
Look at that. There it is.
Take me through that joyride you had.
Yeah, it was wild. The weird thing is not that you ever expect to win a state championship, but like this group of seniors, ever since they were in like 7th or 8th grade, they were supposed to go to Madison and win a state championship. But how many times does that actually come true, let alone go 30-0? The interesting thing about my son, Hogan, he was one of the starters on this team. But if you go back to, we moved to De Pere, a little suburb of Green Bay, as you know. We moved here when he was in 8th grade, but he started playing in the youth program when he was in 5th grade. And he was on the C team. They had A team, B team, C team, D team. He was on the C team, so essentially the 3rd group as a 5th grader. He was on the B team in the 6th and 7th grade. It wasn't until 8th grade that he even made the A team. And then he was sort of one of the last guys on the team. But this kid, John, worked his butt off and became a starter on a team that went 30-0 and won a state championship as a senior, which, I'm really proud of that for him because I'll be honest with you, I had coaches from your alma mater, Southwest, Ashwaubenon, Notre Dame, that said, hey, tell Hogan to transfer here and he'll be a starter for me right away. We just happened to be really deep and he just worked his butt off and found his way into the state championship game. And it was so neat, seeing this whole group do this. You never expect to go 30-0, but it kind of like, as it's kept building, it's kind of like, well, if we don't go 30-0 now, it was kind of like not a failure, but what the heck happened? Kind of thing.
Yeah, there is that.
Well, once you get into the tournament, anything but is going to be bad when it comes through. What's the vibe like? I know the women, the girls have won a state title before, but what, like the school? Are we celebrating in town? What has been the reaction?
Yeah, it was amazing because on the way out of town, leaving De Pere on Thursday night to go down to Madison, they had the fire truck, the police cars escort them to the highway on Thursday night. And then when they came home Sunday morning with the gold ball, that's what they give the state champions in Wisconsin. the fire truck and police escort picked them up in the parking lot over at the Walmart in West Pier and escorted them back to the high school and had a big celebration at the high school. But the interesting thing is there's two brothers on the team, the Kinzingers. John Kinzinger is a senior. He and Hogan are the same age. There's a sophomore, Zach Kinzinger. Zach's also a starter on the team. John was Mr. Basketball in Wisconsin. The day we get home from Madison, they have the celebration at the high school, bring the trophy into the gym and place is packed. Zach Kinzinger starts throwing up. They take him to the hospital, and he has his appendix taken out, emergency appendectomy. If that happens one day before, we don't win the state championship. Zach Kinzinger, sophomore, had 19 points in that championship game and guarded Arrowhead's best player. If we don't have him, you go from maybe, okay, there's talk that we were the best team all time, in the state of Wisconsin, definitely the best team from the area, the Green Bay, Northeast Wisconsin area, to you losing the state championship game and no one remembers you. It could have been, we were that close. That's the amazing thing about sports. Like, wow. History could have been changed because the appendectomy happened, a day earlier, or even if it was a week earlier, he probably doesn't play.
Wow. I thought you were going to say he went right back to shooting. I thought there was going to be a happy ending. This is how dedicated he was. He went right in and started shooting threes.
Yeah.
John mentioned this club's been here 100 years. This is nothing new that you have to play in April here when it's not so great in Northeast Wisconsin. What are some of the challenges that you've maybe overcome over the years to actually get baseball in early in the season like this?
Yeah, I mean, we've done anything and everything. Like I mentioned, we had to shovel. And honestly, we shoveled the entire stadium from the field, which was the easy part, to shoveling in between every single seat in the stands, carrying the snow out in buckets and getting it out of the stadium. There was a year where everything was so wet. We brought in a helicopter to just hover above the outfield to try to dry the outfield. Those are kind of the cold. We've had issues with we've set the infield on fire to try to dry it out, which that was a long time ago. So don't get mad at us for the pollution of that one. But we've done. It's crazy to think back, and I kick myself all the time. I wish I was a journaler. If I kept a daily diary, the stories that I look back and think about, and the stupid stuff that we did, but kind of got away with it. It would be a good book, I think. And but yeah, a lot of stuff we've done to try to get games in April, and that's one of the hardest parts. Is it doesn't matter what you plan and the fun you're going to have and all the promotions that you're going to do. If it's 30 and snowing, or if it's 25 and snowing, I get it. People aren't going to come out to the ballpark.
Tell me why I should be taping your picture up in my room, and you should be my guy if I'm a 9-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was telling some of the guys, like when we were playing the Cardinals a couple weeks ago at home, I look at them and I go, some of the pitchers like in the dugout and stuff. I'm like, I look at one of the guys, I go, wait, do you guys hate the Cardinals? And they go, I would say we probably have more beef like with the Cubs, just like hitting like Wilson Contreras and stuff. Like we had a couple of like altercations with that. But they're like, well, now he's on the Cardinals. But they're like, we don't really like him, but like, I guess we don't hate him. And I'm like, really? I'm like, why hate these guys? I'm like, when I was little, I'm like, I hated the Cardinals so much, just being a Brewers fan. I'm like, I just felt like that, I'm like, I just had it from like, I guess it's different, when you're playing and like, you don't like, you're playing, but you don't, you are playing on a team. So it's like, you obviously aren't gonna, you're not gonna like playing like some of your rivals in your own division. But I'm like, I grew up when I was little not liking the Cardinals, the Cardinals and the Brewers. Like, I'm like, man, these guys always beat us. Like, they think that they're better than us. I'm like, they always have good players. I'm like, I don't like these guys, and I'm like, they're like, and then the more I would talk of probably some of the things I would yell in the dugout, I think guys were like, man, this guy actually really does not like the Cardinals. And they're like, this guy, I think guys kind of look at it and they're like, well, who wants the Brewers to win more than this kid from Wisconsin? Like, not many guys, And I'm like, well, I kind of have realized that, and I kind of have embraced that then too. So it's like, I mean, when we lose, like it definitely is not just like oh, well, this is the team I play for. Like, when we lose, I'm like, damn it. Like, what are we doing? Like,
right.
Playing for the state. We're playing for the boys from Wisconsin. Like, all the boys need to be, like, ready to go, you know? So it's like, I just think that I have probably a passion and a drive, like, for the Brewers to win and make the playoffs and do well that I would say probably is not something you can probably teach. It's just, like, deep within. So that's probably the most straightforward, real answer to that.
Oh, love that.
Between Bart and between Brett Favre coming and then Aaron for that stretch, everybody talked, and I'm the one that says, listen, there were a ton of lean years with quarterbacks. There were some guys that just could not play the position. But Lynn Dickey was the exception. Talk about Lynn, because he could really, in terms of a guy that could just absolutely spin it, he was a great thrower of the football.
He was so accurate, and the deep ball. I mean, you look at some of the passes that he threw James Lofton, you know, they're 50 yards down the field, and James doesn't break stride. I mean, you know, for me as linebackers would cover me over the middle. If that linebacker was on one shoulder, he would throw it to the other side. And boy, he was just so accurate. He was more mobile than what people thought, but he was so smart. He studied that playbook. He studied the other team. You know, he knew tendencies. And, you know, again, I would sit by him in meetings, and I just owe so much to Lynn Dickey for explaining things to me. And we're great friends to this day. I talk to him at least once a week. He and Jan Stenerud and I are flying down to Atlanta, Georgia on Monday, and David Whitehurst is picking us up, and we're going out playing golf for 3 days at it's Lake Oconee, a golf course called Cuskawilla. It's kind of an Indian name, and we're going to go down there and play golf for 3 days. So, you know, Lynn is just a lifelong friend, and I love him to death, and I owe so much to him. And just, you know, again, the accuracy that he had, and just the command on the field. You know, there were times him and Greg Cook would get into arguments, you know, in the huddle. I was kind of the mediator. I'd try to break them up. I'd go, look, we got to call the play. You two stop bitching at each other, and let's get the play called.
What foods do you absolutely need to have at your tailgate?
Cheese curds, a nacho dip. I'm a sucker for Cheetos, and you got to have the cheese and crackers with the summer sausage.
So everything is tied to cheese.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
What is the elevation of Rib Mountain?
Oh, I have no idea, but I could see it out my back window as a kid.
1,942 feet.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Rate your skiing ability. Are you a green circle, a blue square, a black diamond, or a double black diamond?
I hover between the greens and the blues. After my
cool.
knee injury, I don't like. I can handle blacks, but I'm not going down that road.
Okay.
I'm not doing that again.
If you went on a crime spree and you needed an accomplice, Butchie, Levy, or me?
You've seen Butchie with his shirt off, so I mean, I'm going with him.
Okay.
Sorry.
What if you needed help? What if you needed help bearing a body? Still him?
Probably.
Okay.
Illinois, sometimes you just need those muscles.
I'm with you. Yeah. Illinois is the land of Lincoln. How many city, towns, and villages in Wisconsin are named Lincoln? I'll give you the over/under at 10.
0.
12.
No way.
There are 12. It is true. Last time you changed or rotated a tire?
Never.
Good. What? Do you own a fire suit?
Me personally? No, I don't. There are several in my house, but none of them are mine.
Okay. Very good. Cheddar cheese on your apple pie, yes or no?
No.
Okay, so there's one thing you won't. Favorite Packer?
All time?
Yep.
Oh. Don Mikowski is the first one that came to mind because he's like the formative years.
Plus
so I'm going to go with that.
Glorious mullet. You know, he was great.
Magic Man.
You know, that's the last Packer jersey I bought. Is I have a number 7 Mikowski jersey.
No way. That's awesome.
Yeah. What's it like to hear your national anthem? And do you ever hear it the same way again?
Never. Literally never. I've told people this, that I obviously have heard the national anthem thousands of times in my life. Never once did I hear it like that. Never did I feel so patriotic. I even heard it, obviously I won many other races and heard the national anthem, but never like I did at the Olympic Games. And seeing the flag, we're coming up on the 4th of July tomorrow, and still I see the flag and I still feel that patriotism, but also a sense of pride that I was able to, I felt like, and I still do, like I didn't just do this for me or for my family. You really feel like you're doing it for the American people. And as corny as that may sound, the cool thing about the Olympics is, in pro sports, literally, let's take Packers and Bears, for instance. You're 80 miles apart, and if one guy plays for another team, the fans from that other, they can't stand the guy, or they find a reason to cheer against him. In the Olympics, if you're American, most Americans are cheering for you because you represent them. And it's unlike any other, except for, like World Cup soccer and so forth. But it's an amazing feeling to be able to represent your country.
You probably heard us chuckle in the background.
My goosebumps.
Yeah. I'm looking down at the monitor and John's like, I'm freaking out. I got goosebumps. It's crazy. Cool. Well, hey, way to go, Dan. You unified the country. What else you got up your sleeve? That'd be great.
Yeah, right.
Last thing, because I feel like this is kind of a Wisconsin basketball with Butch too. Just give me word association. Chicago Cubs.
Fly that hell. The Cubs, you suck.
It's not even a word. I'm not going to give you a word. That's all I'm going to
do. Love that. Listen, you are right. You are right in line with the values of this program.
They're the worst.
I completely agree. One more thing about the Brewers PA job. When you were filling in for Bob Betts, did you say the number and the last name twice like he did? Like, was it center fielder number 19, Robin Yount? 19, Yount.
No, I didn't. I didn't try to sound like Bob. The only thing I took from him was the "please drive home safely." He would always say that at the end of the game. Other than that, Euchre used to call me Screamer when I'd fill in for him because I was more like the NBA kind of guy. Like I have a friend that still to this day, when he sees me, he'll go, Marquise Grissom. That's how I'd introduce him. And Euchre would look at me like, tone it down a little bit, man.
I have to ask you in this case, because great that you love Wisconsin. You had an opportunity to come earlier. Mm-hmm. I know you had a scholarship offer and they were on your list. Michigan was on your list and was your school. We end up at BC. I want to know how we narrowed it down, how we decided maybe Ann Arbor, and then we decided Chestnut Hills, where I ended up.
All right, yeah. So Boston College was my second offer ever, going all the way back there. My second game, my freshman year, I got an offer from Boston College. While I was in high school, I think there was one of the years where they went 3-9, and like they had a bad record. I think they lost like a game 0-3, and they last minute field goal Wake Forest won or something like that. And I remember watching them just being like, no way. And then so obviously high school is going, well, I'm getting all these offers and it's time to go on visits. My top five, I want to say kind of when I was deciding was Michigan, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Florida State, Virginia were my top five. BC wasn't in it. And honestly, the number one was Wisconsin. Number one was 100% Wisconsin. I tell this story, and my father-in-law gets upset all the time, and like my in-laws, they always joke about it. I was like, I'm going to go to Wisconsin. I took the trip. My stepdad and I were going to do all the Midwest schools. My grandfather, Tom Gatewood, played back with Joe Theismann at Notre Dame. So he met me for the Notre Dame visit. And then I think we went Wisconsin and then Michigan, whatever. That was the trajectory of the trip. And so we get to Wisconsin And, I'm like, what, this is where I want to go. I want to be the next great running back. I want to do it. They always have great offensive lines. And it's not even disrespectful because I don't even remember who the guy was anymore. I don't know who he was, but I got the tour and the visit, and it was a rainy day. It was so not fun. The visit was not fun. I know now my wife is a graduate of Wisconsin. My sister-in-law goes to Wisconsin. I know it's mad town. I know it's so much fun, but the taste of Wisconsin I got was super dull and super boring and no fun. And so I was like, I literally left that trip. I started that trip. I'm going nowhere but Wisconsin. And I left saying, I cannot go there. I would have no fun. And every time I tell people that, they laugh because obviously Wisconsin's like, that's literally known for like being so much fun. And regardless, whatever. And then next I go from that trip to Michigan, and they had all the bells and whistles at that point. I think it was like Jim Harbaugh's like second year or something like that. And they were doing like all these fun trips, and like they had just signed like Jordan, and I had known of Rashawn Gary because he's from the East Coast, and there's a lot of similarities. And Don Brown was there he had recruited me at BC, and I was like, you know what, like Michigan's a place for me to go. And I committed there. And then my senior year, I got hurt. And I was out for like 4 games, but we only played 8 games in my high school. So I was out the last 4. And I remember just kind of sitting there thinking my senior year, I'm like, well, if like, God forbid any of this were to happen again and I were to get hurt and I couldn't play football, where would I want to be? And, I took a step back, and my parents kind of helped me make my decision, said they support me no matter what. But I really felt like, I really wanted to go to BC. I wanted to go somewhere where it was close enough to home that people from my hometown, they could come up, they can see me. Kids that looked up to me, they could see that, hey, you can do whatever you want to do. You can go D1 and you can still, I was living proof an hour or so away from them. And obviously great education, that was big. And then a great atmosphere. I went to prep school outside of Boston. I had a lot of friends there already, so I knew what that city had. I know they got great fandom. And so that's pretty much the decision. But they were only taking 1 running back in my class at Wisconsin. I had that bad visit. I said no. And then Jonathan Taylor at the time was committed to Rutgers. He decommitted and then went to Wisconsin. So a happy ending for everybody all around.
No,
but,
see, we've done this show. We've done 60 episodes, and I just wrote on my paper, saddest story ever.
UW lacrosse Mount Rushmore. We got you. We got Brian Gutekunst. We got Billy Schrader. Like, who else is on there that we should definitely know and have on the program?
I mean, Jerry Augustine is a graduate of UW lacrosse. He's a major leaguer. Taylor Colway just made it to the major leagues. He was a guy that played for lacrosse, and he made it to the major leagues with the Padres just this year, made his debut. Who else? Andrew Rock. He was an Olympian.
Gold medalist in the 400.
Yeah.
I was waiting, hopefully getting some track love.
There it is.
Yeah. So there it is. He was in the 400 relay.
The highlight of training camp, and look, I'm sure we'll get into Jordan Love throws and all kinds of moments. Highlight of training camp for me, I was running a little bit late for practice, and I happened to time it up where Wes was being asked for his autograph on a hat with like player autographs on it, and then Wes is writing his name. It was just a thing of beauty. I could not have come at a more perfect time to practice than to witness that great moment.
So
Poor
wait,
Wes.
Yeah, other than the Wes Hoskins hour, like we should talk about the Packers, right? That's on the thing as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he works for them. I guess we're sort of talking about the Packers.
By the way, that's really nice that he would do that. I went to an event one time, and I am literally seated at the table, and I have got Lawrence Taylor and Eric Dickerson, and then me. We got people around the room. I was hosting, and it was at Firestone Golf Club. I was hosting, so they sat me there. So people would have their football, and they'll come, and they're like, LT would sign it, and then they give it to me. I'm like, I'm not signing that. I don't want to be a jerk.
Right.
But you don't hand me your baby. I'll sign your baby. That's fine. I'll sign your head. I'm not signing a football with those 2 guys and diminishing the value of this thing. Wes apparently has no such shame. His vanity knows no bound.
That's exactly what the point of that story was. You nailed it.
Unbelievable. If I completely focus on Jordan Love, because I don't know if you saw it at ESPN, we're completely focused on Jordan Love.
I've noticed.
What am I missing? Like, where else is there a fulcrum on this team that isn't number 10?
I think it's got to be their run defense, right? I mean, this defense was built a year ago when they went again heavy with the first round with Quay Walker at inside linebacker and Devontae Wyatt, bringing the total number of first-round picks on that defense to 7. They thought, and at that time we thought, okay, they're laying the groundwork, right? Because if you're going to eventually have a young quarterback, what are you going to need? You're going to need a solid defense, obviously, and you're going to need a run game. So that foundation was being built for the transition whenever it happened. It obviously happened to be this year. But if they can't stop the run, then your young quarterback's got to play catch up all the time with less clock, right? So to me, that's it. That's been the bugaboo for Joe Barry in his tenure here, is they have not been good at stopping the run, particularly when you factor in yards per carry. Sometimes their total numbers are top half of the league, but yards per carry have been pretty bad. So that's where it has to start for me on defense, because that way your young quarterback and young offense is in the game. I know everybody's focusing on 10, and I'm sure this has been talked about too, and the ups and downs and what's he going to do. But keep in mind that the guys he's throwing the ball to outside of the running backs, they're in their second year in the league or they're rookies. So while we all may go, Jordan Love threw a terrible pass, do we know that the guy was in the right position? So that stuff has to work itself out. The constant has to be the defense has to be able to hold up its end of the bargain, and they need to get off the field. They can't allow teams to have these long drives, and the run defense has just been bad the last few years.
Is it really the city of pretzels?
What the city of Center tell you is the city of pretzels?
Yeah.
Now, I had no idea. All I know is I had a kebab taldrik midri. So that's a kebab with ice or with rice and then no onions and a Coke. That was
you
what you
probably never met Bjorn Borg, who's from there.
No, but his underwear line's pretty good, right?
I can't answer that, nor do I want to. Give me your best poor grad assistant or poor assistant coaching story.
God, this is good. So as a GA, I live with two other guys. We actually rented out a garage, and so we lived in a garage. But there was a pool attached to the main house where the guy lived, and so we lived in a garage, 3 of us. But we had a pool, so we had an awesome life. And it was you had $500 as a GA, and we each paid about $125 a month rent to live out of a garage in the middle of Aberdeen, South Dakota, where it's minus 30 below with no heat in there. So, yeah. Baseball GA, women's basketball GA, and men's basketball GA all live in the garage. That's the start of a bad joke.
Scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think I dislike Rex Walters?
There's 2 types of Rex Walters fans. There's love him or hate him. So you're either going to be a 0 or a 10. And I'm going to say that you love Rex Walters.
I'm at a 30 on how much I hate that guy.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Sexy Rexy's the best, man. That's what I love about him.
Sexy Rexy played at KU and beat Missouri 4 times. He's on the all-time list. Yeah, just he and Adonis Jordan, all the rest of those clowns. No thanks. Do you have his number? I don't ever want to know it. Where'd you get the blazer or that sport coat that's in your media guide photo?
Yeah, so I got a personal tailor. I'm gonna give a shout out here to Brian Morris, aka BMO, Bespoke by BMO. And Brian Morris can get you all the custom stuff that you want. He's high level. He's out of Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City area. So
nice. Now the outside's resplendent. Do you have any the liner? Is there anything cool in the liner? Pictures of the kid.
Ooh. Live. We're gonna see it right now.
Yes.
That's a bring your own juice liner right there.
Wow.
This is going to be debuted on the sideline. This is the Green Bay special right here. All right.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
That's a closer's jacket right there.
Hold on. Then you got to make sure that you got that. You pop the collar and it says,
"Bring your own juice." Let's start at the beginning. How does a guy that gets drafted and should be a Minnesota Viking in the 3rd round ends up as a Packer?
Hey, first of all, don't start it off by saying anything about Minnesota. If you like,
I ain't mad at anybody.
Like living there, or if you don't want me to turn this camera off, don't say nothing about Minnesota.
Okay. Then we'll pick it up at the beginning with Green Bay. How is it you found that was your home in the NFL?
That's the only team I ever played for.
Mm-hmm.
The only team I recognized was the Green Bay Packers.
And how is it you found that to be your home? Like, why was that fit right for Gilbert Brown?
Well, I mean, for some guys that play this game, I don't know. I was definitely not going to be a journeyman, as they say, or bouncing from team to team. If I stay with a team, I'm gonna stick with a team. So that's what I did. I stick with the Green Bay Packers. I bleed green and gold. I'm from Detroit, so I never was a Lions fan ever. So I'm just happy with where I'm at.
I sat next to your grandma at the show at North Star Mohican Casino Resort. It was an unbelievable deal. She had a gut feeling that you were going to be pulling her up on stage that day, and she was not happy about it because she can't really walk very well anymore.
Yeah.
In case you didn't know. But maybe that's the best part about your show, Charlie, is that you just happen to remember to capture things that every single one of us can relate to. And your grandma on that drive up, which I don't hope I'm not giving away part of your show here, but I have seen it a couple times.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. Talk real quick about her, and obviously Grandpa Bob was the one that really inspired this whole thing for you.
Yeah. My Grandpa Bob, he was very much the early inspiration. You know, I would just go fishing with him, hang out with him, and just get bits, you know. And he died a few years ago, and then my grandma, who's my only living grandparent now, and we'll go to the casino. And on our way to the casino, and during that one show, I filmed it. You know, her, Frank Lois, Bentley, Maya, Mary, and oh man, that whole podcast. I made a whole podcast out of it, and these guys just like unleashed. It was hilarious. And honestly, you get to a point like that, and you're like, I'm just happy I'm filming this. So this is the fun thing for others to see, and they just don't even think there's a camera there, really, for the most part. And I even sent them the podcast after. I was like, guys, is there anything you want me to take out? They're like, no, we're good with it. I'm like, all right, just maybe listen to it first. You know, but they were cool with it, and I thought it was very funny.
What kind of game did Horning and those guys have back then when they would come over on Sunday? Were they still Super Bowl form?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they were only in their 50s, you know? So, I mean, shoot, they were younger than I was right now. They'd come over to the house. And let me tell you, when they did come over to the house, Horning and Fuzzy Thurston and Max McGee, when they came to my house and we were sitting around the bar with the current guys, with the current girlfriends or wives, those old guys, the old timers, man, the legends, they held court. And everybody just was in awe listening to their stories. Their stories were nonstop. They just one after another. And Horning, oh my gosh, he just great stories, man. Just unbelievable. I wish we had time to talk about a few, but there's just too many to talk about. But Horning and those guys were great. Fuzzy Thurston became a great friend, man. He spoke at my wedding. Not that he was invited to. He just went up there after a few vodka tonics, man. He went up took over on stage and just started speaking. It was unbelievable. Got down to 3-point stance after he gave me a little speech, and I got the crowd fired up at my wedding. Good times with those guys. And that was one of the neatest things. People ask me what was one of the coolest things about being a Green Bay Packer, and for me to be able to say that I was such good friends with those legends was an honor for me, and that was one of the greatest things that I enjoyed that I was able to do. What a perk!
That's amazing.
I kind of wish social media existed back then. I know you don't, but man, I would have loved this.
No, you don't.
Last one for me. Have you ever been to the Pine Cone in Johnson Creek?
I absolutely have been to the Pine Cone in Johnson Creek. It's on the way. It's on our way up to Madison. My dad is a big Pine Cone fan. We all are. We've all been to the Pine Cone. It's definitely a stop that I won't say I've been there often, but you see it all the time, and I've definitely stopped and enjoyed the experience. And we've been back and we've recommended it to people.
Heck yeah! Every time I go home, me and the family got to go to the Pine Cone. Grew up going there. See, John, you'll get there someday.
Is that could that be like a tavern of the game? I don't know. I am unfamiliar with the Pine Cone.
Derek, how would you describe the Pine Cone for John? This is good.
Well, it's it's a truck stop, diner. It's like a truck stop diner.
Okay.
If you're going there, you're weaving through some semi trucks in the parking lot for sure. Yeah. It's right, and some outlet malls right around it, outlet stores. But
okay,
it's a good time. It's a good area. Definitely, if you're ever visiting Trevor, check it out.
Yeah, I live in Green Bay now, but thanks. Appreciate it.
Now if you ever visit Trevor and go back and he shows you his roots,
you got to go to the Pine Cone. Okay, I'm on it.
Now I know. Give me the most glaring differences between South Beach and Northeast Wisconsin.
I would say there's more empanadas down here than cheese curds. I think that would be the fried food down here is just different. You know, you never know what you're getting in that situation there. But no, I think people are down here are good. You kind of get in your own routines, own habits. But yeah, man, enjoying every single second of it, trying to find your own routines that kind of brings slices of home back. If that makes sense.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Provea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, smash the like button, just get with us. Did you find a Miller Lite while you were out at that Packers-Giants game? Do they serve that out there? Yeah, I'm sure they do.
What's really kind of humorous is to see all the Packer people there. So the place was fairly empty. You know, I thought 60%, maybe 70%. Tons of Packer, but every Packer fan that went by, two fists and all with Miller Lights.
Yes.
The home crowd, there's the IPAs and there's all the, you know, the fruity beers and every Wisconsin, like a person walked by, just two Miller Lights, one in each hand, the big ones, and off they went. It was so funny. Like you could have, if they had not been wearing the color, you could have literally, though, just divided up by the people that walked by. And like, oh, we know who he's rooting for. He's got the two Miller Lights when he went by. Yeah, it was really comical.
I remember that from the game in Las Vegas. I don't think they stocked Miller Lite like they had that day ever again. And they never will in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it was really kind of funny. I pointed out to the camera, like, look, there they go. They're on our side.
And it's always the tall boys. Can you tell I always have one just for spare?
I'm just wondering when you're going to be man enough to open it and just. I want you to do like we'll get it chilled up, but then I want you to go like full Bakhtiari on one of these shows and just pound it.
No, responsibly. That's what we got to do. Responsibly. This feels cold, but I don't know.
But you're in your basement.
Been here for
it's responsible.
I'm saying. Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
You know what? I'm going to a family Christmas
you
after
don't
this.
need to do it right now.
Oh shoot! Look at this. Damn it. Okay.
It's all right. At least we know it. We at least know it wasn't just a prop.
Clean up on aisle. It is not a prop. And now I have to do something. Oh, I created a mess. All right.
Like
I'll take it in a second. What'd you say?
It's like my trunk.
It smells like beer in here. Good problem to have. Make it Miller time all season long. Get Miller Lite delivered right to your door. Visit MillerLite.com/Inside Wisconsin, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
So how many ounces in that one?
It's pretty cold. I'm surprised. I think this is 24.
Okay. That's
16?
basically double the fun.
24. This is what they serve at Lambeau now. It's these big boys.
Double the fun.
Right. Excuse me. I have some work to do.
Thank you. What is it? As you were, Wisconsin.
Time for another top 5 list here on the Inside Wisconsin show, presented by Wisconsin Leaders in STEM, the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. UW-Platteville's exciting STEM programs make it a top university in Wisconsin and the Midwest region. In fact, UW-Platteville is ranked in the top 20 for regional universities in the Midwest. Find out more at uwplatt.edu. So these top 5 lists, JA, have taken on a complete mind of their own. The feedback and the comments and the you were wrong, and not just from you either. Like, you're not the only person that tells me I'm wrong. People are getting used to it now.
All I can really recall is how you struggled some to figure out who the Big Ten teams were.
Pretty sure I listed
5
all of them.
Big Ten teams that have been there since the formation of the conference and then continuously been there. And people always thought when they got mad because they suspended Harbaugh, because again, and I would like to be clear, not that I'm a Michigan lover. I don't think Michigan was cheating. They were just trying to get away with stuff. It's a very subtle difference. It's like NASCAR drivers. Well, we're not cheating. We're just seeing what we can get away with. But remember, they were like, if you suspend him, we'll leave the conference. Because they did way back when, just for a little just a little bit. You never know what they would do that. Then they realized that maybe they were guilty of sin, and they'll take the 3-game penalty and mea culpa, and we'll see in the playoff.
Yeah, we'll see soon, right?
But long as you really need to know is the Badgers are one of them.
We found that out. I got that right. I said, was Wisconsin one of them? You said yes. And then I went on to list 12 more. And USC wasn't one of them.
No,
Whoops.
nor is UCLA or Oregon, but they're there now.
They're coming. I appreciate your picture the other day that you sent me from a store. You hit the flannel mother load. That was another top 5. That was fun.
What color are you wearing today, Trevor? Do
Blue.
you know?
Thank you. It's blue and black.
So can you tell that it's blue and black, or you just know it's blue?
It's reds and greens I have the issues with. Blue I got. This is good. I got that.
So Christmas is hellish on you.
It is. Very brown. Very brown. All right. So, however, there's one top 5 list that absolutely stood out this year and above and beyond got the most views of any of our top 5 lists ever. It was John Anderson's top 5 reasons Green Bay Packer fans should be freaking out that Aaron Rodgers wants to be a Jet.
Were they mad at me because I named these people or not?
No, they were actually in support of what you had going on at that moment.
And it turns out we all may have been wound up for no reason whatsoever.
Exactly.
Piers number 10 can play a little bit.
Yeah.
Got a little squirrely up there. Got a little squirrely out there in New Jersey. Which I was so happy to sit there and be cold and watch us get beat by a practice squad quarterback. That we played so well on defense that we made him the NFC Offensive Player of the freaking week.
Jeez,
it's all right.
High school amazing quarterback, and then beat the Pack.
And you know that guy also. I don't know if you recall, right? He thumped the Badgers too at Illinois.
Where did he play?
Played at Illinois.
I didn't know that.
He was a grad transfer, played at Illinois, beat him like 35-14, scored 3 rushing touchdowns. So that guy has twice. Tommy DeVito has twice inflicted pain on those of us that enjoy the state of Wisconsin. So, I'm not into cancel culture, but if you would like to block that guy,
let's get rid of him.
Get rid of him. I could see my way to a few things where we should probably, get rid of it.
You're 0-1 at your only Packer game this year, and I'm 1-0 in your seats at Lambeau Field. We'll see if I can keep the streak going here through the Bears game.
I'm 0-2.
Where'd you go to another one?
Detroit, the Packer game in Detroit.
Yeah.
And then the Giants game.
You were home for the Packer game against Detroit. Yeah. That's right. That Thursday. Yeah. I forgot about that.
But as I like to point out, because I've had people go, wow, you're a jinx. Okay, if that's true, that my presence can somehow make a difference, that's great. Then I'm taking credit for the Lambeau Leap. I'm taking credit for the Marco Miracle. And I will take credit for Yancey Thingpin dropping the ball when the Steelers against home when they won the first.
There for all of them. That was another fun top 5 list. The top 5 plays in Packers history pre-Aaron Rodgers. These are good. You guys enjoy them. We're grateful for your feedback. Here are the best of the top 5s in 2023. It's all you this week. The top 5 what?
These are the top 5 reasons that we should be terrified that Aaron Rodgers wants to be a Jet, and it is offered with no comment on the ability of what he has shown or what he might show, all with Jordan Love. This is nothing about Jordan Love. This is all about basically what this is me having a therapy session. I'm getting rid of some scar tissue. Top 5 reasons we should be terrified that Aaron Rodgers is no longer the Packer quarterback.
Number 5.
Randy Wright.
Okay, explain, because I'm young.
Former Badger quarterback, started a year and a half for the Packers, whatever it is, maybe won 3 games.
All right, bad run. Got it. Number 4.
Rich Campbell.
Go.
Former number 1 draft pick out of Cal. When they drafted him, they're like, I don't know that he has an NFL arm. I don't know that he started a game. If he did, it wasn't very long. And he was, outside of perhaps Randy Duncan, the largest quarterback bust in history for the Green Bay Packers. Randy Duncan, remember, Randy Duncan led the Iowa Hawkeyes to the Rose Bowl. I think they drafted him number 1 like in 1959. It might have been with Lombardi was there. And I don't know that he ever played a game for the Packers. He was a disaster. But Rich Campbell was a number 1 draft pick, like 19th overall or 119. Anyway, I believe he went on to become a minister, and thank God the Lord loves him because nobody in Green Bay does. Number 3, Jim Delgado.
Okay.
I think we sent a number 2 draft pick to the Dolphins for him. Back in the day, he might have been on the taxi squad for them on the 72 champs, but Jim Delgado couldn't play dead in a cowboy movie. Number 2, Carlos Brown. Do you remember Carlos Brown?
No.
Okay, I do. So this is why when you go, I'm done with Aaron. I'm not done with Aaron. And this is why. Carlos Brown at number 2, who, by the way, has got a new name because he's an actor out in Hollywood. So he could play dead in a cowboy movie where Jim Del Gazzo could not.
What's number 1?
Oh, that's easy. Dan Devine traded two number 1s, 2 number 2s, and a 3 for John Hadel. Okay, this goes beyond me not liking dudes from Kansas. This was perhaps the worst trade, not only in franchise history, but maybe in NFL history that set this team back forever. So Wright, Campbell, Delgado, Brown, Hadel. Here's the thing, Trev. These are some names that got a pass. Okay, David Whitehurst, Scott Hunter, Jerry Taggy, another number 1 pick and a Green Bay West kid.
Yep.
Matt Flynn, Magic, Mike Tomczak, Jim Zorn, Scott Tolzien, Seneca Wallace, Blair Keel, Alan Risher, Anthony Dilwood. These are all people that started a game for the Green Bay Packers. All of them.
Yeah.
Okay? So now tell me again how happy you are that Aaron's gone.
I'm faithful. I am faithful. That's what I am. I am happy that he's going to be happy in life.
List?
No, I'm
so
pretty sure we're recording this. Jeez. All right. The top 5 reasons why John and apparently others John's age are terrified that Rodgers wants to be a Jet. Okay. No pressure, Jordan.
So the top 5 is simply the 5 games they won. And then in the Final 4, they beat North Carolina, who had
the championship,
beat North Carolina in the championship, who had Phil Ford and had Walter Davis and Michael Corrin, I think, was on that team. These guys were beasts. And they kind of had him. And back then, they didn't have a shot clock. So North Carolina and Dean Smith, very famous for their 4 corners, right? They just spread it out and just throw it around till he came out and guard him and forced him to play some. And Al McGuire, I can still hear him talking about that game. He said what they really did is they hurt themselves. And he said, I can still hear him saying, they dried their sweat. So they were going, and all of a sudden they stood around and threw it around. They dried their sweat, and they got kind of cold. And Marquette was able to plow through them. And they win that 67-59. And then that in the ultimate, what would Al say? Treetops and seashells and balloons, his last game. That was it. Wins the game. Retired, off into the sunset. I'll see you on the broadcast with Billy Packer and Dick Enberg, where Shaka said made him unbelievably smart. But yeah, so their tournament run, and Shaka at VCU, when they had to go 68, would have had to win 7 games. Now you have to win 6. They had to win 5. Cincinnati, K-State, Wake Forest, UNC, Charlotte, now to Charlotte, and North Carolina. So they lost in 74 to David Thompson, NC State. They win a couple years later against North Carolina, the other school out of the ACC.
The buzzer sounds, and Dick Leinenkugel marches to the lake.
Off he goes.
Off.
And then turns around and comes back because they didn't know what the hell they were going to do.
And then went to the airport. Great story. Oh, man. All right. There it is. Today's top 5 list, the 5 teams that Marquette in 1977 beat to win it all.
What if we just had like the top 5 villains or the top 5 most hated opponents in Wisconsin people? And you seem to think that maybe that could be a half-hour special on HBO or a Netflix special. Did you get a book full of them, or do you just have it write it down?
This is my notebook, and I have a list. Page? Yeah, it's a page, all right.
Number 2, very UWGB, is Steve Smith for sinking the basketball. Michigan State sinking the bucket that sent UWGB home when they looked like they were going to beat them, go to the Sweet 16. And legend has it, he shoots the jumper, and it's going in, but before it goes in, he turns around and looks at the Phoenix bench and asks them how they're spending the rest of their spring break.
No way.
Yeah, it's fantastic, right? How's that?
Wow. That's Tiger Woods-esque.
What are you guys doing for the rest of spring break? So Steve Smith's number 2 on my list. And number 1, and I'm kind of torn because I'm like, I'm not sure why you bother to hate this guy. He threw enough interceptions to make everybody happy. But Jay Cutler is number 1 of hated opponents. Jay Cutler.
The villain.
And like I said, and Charles Woodson always said, like, don't be mad. Like, just wait long enough. Jay will throw one to us. And he used to throw one to him all the time.
Oh, geez.
And I have this last caveat because I've got the Madison shirt on and we're talking to Frank. And years ago, when I first started at Missouri and had a reputation for a pretty good party school, right? Ranked really high.
Yeah.
And Playboy came out with their ranking of party schools. And Wisconsin's nowhere to be found. And it says, this is a college list. We're not ranking the professionals.
That is so true.
Yes. So in that spirit, that's why Randy Moss isn't on my list, because Randy Moss is above and beyond all of these people and has his own rarefied air of people at Wisconsin who dislike him. So I don't know that he can be on my regular list.
Yeah, that's
So here's
fair.
my
That totally
top
makes
5,
sense.
And then here's Randy over here all by himself.
Yeah.
And everybody's just ball of hate for him.
Mooned Lambeau Field. Like that, you're not going to get away with that, dude. What are you doing?
I mean, listen, they won, and it was a bold statement, but it puts him forever as a marked man.
I asked you the top 5 things you see on the tour.
And the number one thing that you get to see on a stadium tour, and I've done my homework, the Classic, the Champions, the Legendary Tour.
All of them?
All of them go through the Players' Tunnel. And so we had the voice of Lambeau Field, Bill Jart's on, and there is a moment, this would actually be really neat for you to do. You're walking up the tunnel, they hit a button, and they play Jart's voice.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your 13-time world champion.
Please welcome your 13-time Super Bowl champion Green Bay Packers, and the tunnel door swings open, and there you are not on Lambeau Field, but like, tears. It's goosebumps.
You cried?
I did not.
I laughed, I cried.
My uncle did. Big old tear coming down his face. That is a legendary thing that you can do on the Legendary Tour, the Champions Tour, and the Classic Tour. Those are the top 5 things that you get to embrace on a tour. You want to take a tour now?
No, I still feel like I know where I'm going.
Okay. I was curious, could we come up with a top 5 list of Green Bay Packers that we would love to sit down and have a beer with?
And then number 1, and this is because I have gotten to know the guy on a couple of different occasions when we met. And that is the longtime voice of the SEC, longtime voice of sports television, is Vern Lundquist. And Vern tells a wonderful story before he was doing ice skating, before he was doing all these other things, when he was a local news guy working for WFAA in Dallas. So he did the pre and post game Cowboys pre and post game show before the Ice Bowl.
Okay.
And before big games, Vince Lombardi had the media over and served drinks in his basement. Like, that was not uncommon. So number 1, I think I would like to have a beer served by Vince Lombardi from his bar in his basement.
Yeah. Geez.
Yeah. So that's it. Anderson, Nitschke, Max and Paul Horning, Bakhtiari, and then I'm going to go to Vince's basement and have a beer with the rest of the media, because all those guys back then were legends, right? It was just, these guys were Mount Rushmore type guys that were down in his basement doing stuff like that.
At Prevea Orthopedics and Sports Medicine in Green Bay, we know power starts with the hips. That's why Dr. Michael Ryan and our team of experts provide comprehensive and advanced hip care unlike anywhere else. Come to Prevea, where we can preserve your hips so you can pursue your goals.
One of the favorite parts of the show, John, is when you go nostalgic for us and talk about the best of your childhood, or really it's just your life in general. John, Wisconsin. There's one that stuck out, though, and then I know that you have another story for us, right, in regards to what's top of mind for you this time of year.
Like I said, I just love it because, hey, here's 4 minutes where I get to just talk about myself. Like, I'm just being completely narcissistic.
But there's a really good one that really stood out. I was talking to Craig, our producer, and he's like, this is the one that we're for sure going to play. It's when you got the priest to take off his collar and actually order an old-fashioned.
Yeah. I didn't get him to take it off. He did that voluntarily. He just was, there you go, yeah. We did say that might be, I think everybody has had that experience. I don't pretend that when I tell John, Wisconsin, that somehow it's unique to me. Maybe when it's really stupid, because people are like, well, that would never be me because I'm way smarter than that. But I do think there are some universal things, right? That is the state. And I think probably everybody knows a father somebody who's gone ahead and thrown back a old fashioned.
Or 2 or 3. Are you ready for it? Now, would you like a drink? Yeah. It turns out, we're ready. We'll have that one.
As a matter of fact, I think I will. Which leads me kind of to a quick, just an addendum, if you'll humor me, John, Wisconsin. Because A, it's this time of year, and B, liquor's involved. So when I was at the University of Missouri, actually, I started at University of Missouri. By the time I graduated, it was University of Missouri. You kind of adopt.
Yeah,
but the drinking age was 21 in
Okay.
Missouri. But the drinking age when I was in Wisconsin was 18.
Got it.
And even after they changed it, which was really close, I was grandfathered in. So I was okay. So I could go home and I could drink a beer, go to the Blarney Stone Bladder Bash, which would be a great story for later. And then when I'd go to Missouri, I couldn't. So of course we've had Christmas break and now I'm headed back to Mizzou because we got to, practice has got to start, but I'm not coming without beer. And so I line up, I load up with 2 cases of Leinenkugel bottles.
Yeah, you would like the Liney's original, don't you?
I love the Liney's original bottles. Got them because that's really gonna be great.
Got it.
So they're in there with my suitcase, and now I'm driving back to school, and I stop to see the young lady I was dating at the time, another J school major. We won't lose her last name, but Jackie. So and to go just spend the night at her house, see her folks, and meet. It was great. So I go down, I take my bag out and go into the house, and we spend a lovely evening. And then I wake up in the morning, and now I go and I pop the trunk and I look, and just dismay, might have been tears. It had gotten so cold that night.
Oh,
the beer froze up, expanded, and blew the tops off of all of them. 2 cases of beer, and I had about 8 that were usable.
Ouch.
Tell me that's not the saddest story you have ever heard in your life.
This is not a Christmas miracle whatsoever. None of that is good.
A lump of coal.
You've told a few stories where you have some issues keeping your hands on fresh Liney's original. Didn't you buy a 6-pack last year or something? You came home and stuck it someplace and somebody drank it on you?
I came home, wasn't feeling particularly well, but I got some over at the old Mars Cheese Castle, got the original, brought it home in there. And there's all kinds of other stuff in there, right? There's the Spotted Cow, and there's a Bud Light, and there's Miller Lite. There's all manner of them in there.
Sure.
And I'm sitting there and I'm feeling crappy, and I'm on the couch and I'm watching as my other relatives are coming through, and my niece's husbands, and every one of them, like, they're all drinking my beer. What is this? Like, none of you people have ever gone for this. And yeah, so by the time I'm feeling good, I'm like, oh, I guess I'll just have, the ginger ale and seltzer water that you've got left out there for me. And they all drank my beer. So I have, it's a sad story again, but not like popping open the trunk and just feeling like, what a rookie mistake.
Oh yeah.
It had gotten cold. It was right there. It was just, I'm trying to think, it was just after New Year's. I usually went, so it had been a cold night, but I still, in the trunk, you feel like you're all right. Gone.
Spend too much time with the girlfriend.
By the way, then your trunk smells like beer for, months.
Yeah. What could go wrong? Oh, that's a fun one. All right. Not a great way to end the year with John Wisconsin and a bad beer story, but these are some good ones. You'll like these, especially the Priest one. That's coming for sure. The best of John Wisconsin here this last year.
Well, first, I just want to say, usually I wear Wisconsin stuff, right? And I wanted to celebrate. I have UCLA. I'm being a homer. First off, their business school is the John Anderson Business School. School of Management.
You're a Mizzou guy.
John Anderson School of Management there at UCLA. And one of their big career counselors, career coaches, and alumni director is a guy named Dave Cooley, who was a classmate of mine 1 year ahead of me. But Dave has lived in LA forever. Dave Cooley, he works for it. And I was out there for a track meet. He's like, here, I brought you this. It's the John Anderson School of Management. So that's why if people think, oh, look at him, he's lost his lead. No. It's very much Green Bay Southwest right there. So the first one, this next one, as always, we call him John Wisconsin. It's not always tale of my youth, but since it goes to the Brewers, and as you know, I didn't take the council thing well. Okay, I'm getting over it now, but I didn't take it well. Feel like it was some betrayal. But they've announced Pat Murphy as the new manager. Yeah. Pat Murphy, right, which is fine because let's get the guy who used to coach the guy at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Pat coached at Arizona State University for 15 years, a long time. Took him to College World Series, and that's where I met Pat when I was working out in Arizona for those 3 years. What you may not know about Pat is he is the ultimate Bruce Springsteen fan, a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. That's always like he's always got some motto for his team that comes out of some lyric for his team. And so we were visiting one time, and I said, well, I have a bootleg copy of Bruce Springsteen's Winterland concert. Very famous. It was in December. of 1978. It's when they debuted. It's the first time he played Santa Claus is Coming to Town. It was a very famous bootleg album. And Pat said, man, I would love to listen to that. So I bring Pat this, it's a 3-record thing. I bring him this bootleg copy of this album, right? And it's just got a picture of Springsteen and Clarence Clemens just kind of taped to it. It's the ultimate, like it's really a bootleg find. And then I get a job at ESPN and I leave and Pat has yet to return the album.
Oh no.
Still got my album. He's been listening to it and then he's got things and I got things and now I got to get out of town. So Pat's got my album.
Still?
Pat's got my album. And about, I don't know, 7 years ago, Doug Tamero, one of their old SIDs, comes out and he's doing something. He always runs sort of the press conferences at the Final Four and does some things. Anyway, he's like, John, I'm going to be out here. You got time? We'll go to lunch. It's great. And he walks in and he goes, here, by the way, I've had this for a while. Pat returned it, but then he went off to the Padres organization after he left Arizona State and Doug hadn't been around. And he brings the album back.
No way.
Yes. And so because I so wanted to show everybody the album, it sits in my office for him bringing it back. And last night at 3 a.m. when I left after a game, I'm like, oh my God. And I left the album there. But anyway, here's what I'm saying. Pat Murphy, upstanding guy, loves Springsteen. And years after I thought this was gone, he made sure he got it to the right guy and the right guy made sure it got it to me.
That's
and so
incredible.
I now still have my Bruce Springsteen bootleg copy of the Winter Love album.
You got it back.
Thanks to Pat
You got
Murphy.
it back.
So my dad, his sister, my Aunt Dolores Collins, God bless her soul, rest in peace. She was a nurse at Bellin. And she was assigned to Packer games very frequently to take care of people that might have some sort of incident in the stands, medical emergency. So she was there with the EMTs and she was in the ambulance. And so when it got really, really cold, my dad would just say, just go sit in the ambulance with Aunt Dolores.
Seriously.
So when it would get cold and I'd be like, this is terrible, I'd just go sit in the ambulance for a while and I'd warm up.
How often were you in there when somebody else had to come in and warm up?
Never once did I get in the way. Never once was proper medical care deprived of anybody that may have needed it. But that's it. That's how I ended up in an ambulance at Lambeau Field because it was warm. I told you it's a terrible story, but it sounds great on the surface.
Yeah, it does.
So, Aunt Dolores, God bless her soul. But here's the part you really need to know about Aunt Dolores. Okay, she was wonderful. Aunt Dolores never married. So she was always Dolores Collins. My dad, his brother Marvin Collins, died when I was very young. Uncle Marvin was, my goodness, died and buried when I was 6 or 7, maybe a little later, 8 anyway. But he's still over there in Fort Howard Cemetery, right next to where my father's buried. So my Uncle Marvin had season Packer tickets. When he passed away, they would send him to the house. At the time, which was just my grandmother's house, is where they sent him. That was the address.
Yeah.
So my aunt would always pay for them. Said Dolores Collins, looked like the last name. They just assumed she was the widow. And then my dad would reimburse her. And so we had Uncle Marvin's tickets.
Is that what they are today?
So we had Uncle Marvin's tickets, much like voting in Chicago. I feel like for a long time, there were a lot of dead people who were sitting in Lambeau Field. We had Uncle Marvin's tickets for like 25 years, maybe longer. Everybody like, who's sitting in Uncle Marvin? Uncle Marvin lived forever because everyone know who was sitting in Uncle Marvin's seats this week. This game, who's Uncle Marvin? Well, then the Packers changed the rules that if it was a sibling or whatever, and so my dad, who is the nicest guy in the world, who could, talk the bark off a birch tree, he went in and just said, here, these are my brothers, and they didn't ask any questions, and now they're in the family, and I think they're now in my name. I think I have Uncle Marvin's tickets now.
I think you also get the bill for those.
I think, yes, but now I get the bill. They're in my thing, and they are legit in the family. But for decades, we used Uncle Marvin's tickets, even though Uncle Marvin was long since he had expired here in his earthly capacity, and he is, probably watching me tell this story from heaven going, John, I can't believe you're going to finally give up the ghost. But thanks to Uncle Marvin, we had tickets, and thanks to Aunt Dolores, I had a warm place to stay on occasion when it got just a little too chilly in Lambeau Field. So I just would go sit in the ambulance. So John, Wisconsin, but it happened here, but it happened with the former Marquette coach, Rick Majerus.
Okay.
So Al McGuire, Al gave way to Hank Raymonds. After Hank was let go, Rick took over for 3 years.
And then went to Utah.
Then he went to the Bucks for, I think, a year or two with on their bench, and then went out to Utah and was uber successful.
Yeah.
And then came out here. After that, he had a brief stint with us, and then he went to St. Louis. Died young, heart attack. The way everybody thought he would go, but jovial, fun guy.
Yeah,
hated television because he couldn't speak in short sound bites. He was a great storyteller, and so people ask me all the time, Trevor. We've done our top 5, but they go, what are like some of the 5 greatest things you've seen in sports? And I go, well, like. I've been lucky. I've seen Tiger Woods hit a golf ball right in front of me.
Yeah.
I saw the Olympic torch being lit in the stadium. And I tell them, though, one of the 5 greatest things ever was watching Rick Majerus eat a pizza.
What?
So we get done I've done Sports Center that night. Reese Davis has done the wraps on the college basketball. And so we get out early enough, though, because I was doing the 11. We go over to the local, it's now a DoubleTree, I think, but we just used to call it the ESPN dorms. It's where they put everybody up. So sure. Reese is there, Digger Phelps is there, Majerus and I stroll in. Now at 12:15, because it's not very far from where we are, you can't get anything in Bristol, Connecticut. There's just nothing to eat. 12:15, forget it. And somehow, here come 2 pizzas walking through the door. And they're looking for Majerus. And we're like, okay, first off, this is incredible. There are 2 pizzas. One's cut like a regular pizza. And then there's one cut in quarters. That's Rick's.
Oh, my gosh.
The other one. And I watch Majerus from about, so we get there 2:15. These pizzas come, 12:15. Pizzas come 12:30, whatever. And in 7 minutes, it's just elbow and teeth and crust and gone. And it is still one of the most amazing sporting feats I've ever seen. Rick Majerus, God rest his soul, because that's part of the reason he went to an early grave. But Rick Majerus eating a pizza is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in sports. It is right up there with seeing Tiger Woods hit a golf ball.
Okay. Jeez, that's insane.
And oh, by the way, conjuring up the pizzas is something that should not be discounted, because if you've lived here long enough, you'd know that in itself was amazing, that somehow the man knew the right person to keep the shop open and keep the ovens warm and get him a pizza.
A guy like that's got an insider. Let's be real.
He's got people.
He's got people for things like that.
Yeah, so there it is. Tiger, Olympics. I'm not sure. I was at the Lambeau Leap. I had a lot of good things. Majerus eating a pizza will never be bumped out of the top 5.
What's the latest and greatest from the John, Wisconsin days? Speaking of your childhood.
Yeah, latest and greatest. So, well, because of the timings of this show, I didn't know if I should tell it this time or last time, but I think we're well in the window. And so my sister just celebrated her 34th wedding anniversary, 35th, just a lot. Good for her.
Got it. Yeah, good for her.
End of October. And so I feel like this is a story that it is my story, but it is not unique to me in any way, shape, or form. I feel like this is the ultimate Wisconsin story that everyone has lived.
Does it involve the chicken dance? Go ahead.
No, it does not, oddly enough. Okay. So we are the night before the wedding, of course, we are having a rehearsal and the rehearsal dinner. So we go through the church, we do the whole thing. And we got married over there at the Bethel Baptist Church is where she got married. Her husband was Catholic. They wanted to have a priest come in and say a blessing in the service and do that. Okay, so they sort that out. And now let's go over to the old Eve's Supper Club for the rehearsal dinner. And because I'm one of the first one out and I know the way, John, you can kind of lead the party in the direction of where that is. And I am with my date, a lovely woman, Rhonda Isbell. So Rhonda and I get there first. Excuse me. So we get there first. And the third guy into the room is the priest who has said the blessing, and he got a little early. So now he's standing there, and we're at the bar, And the priest says, "Would you like anything to drink?" And we kind of look, and Rhonda is a Southern Baptist as she comes from. She's down in the Boot Hill of Missouri, a little town called Dexter, Missouri, almost to the Tennessee border. And I said, "Yeah, well, just a couple of Cokes." So he looks at us, and that's fine. And then he turns to the bartender, and he takes off his collar, and he puts it in his pocket, and says, "I'll take a brandy old fashioned." And then the bartender gives it to him. And then the priest looks at me and goes, "Now would you like something to drink?" And I'm like, "You know what? Sure. I'll give me a beer and maybe whatever Rhonda would like to have." And then after
You
that,
should have known better
went
about
to the
that.
vodka gimlet. But yeah, so the priest, it was like, literally, you want to talk about getting the blessing. He's like, "Have at it. Go to the sacraments." Yeah.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Provea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, smash the like button, just get with us. All right, so Christmas time of year, a lot of the best dishes that all of us make all year long come out at Christmas time. And every once in a while, Festival Foods does this thing called Seafood Fest. So I'm curious, like if you had to choose your favorite seafood to go to the store, grab it at Festival, come home and make it for the holidays, maybe you're having a super fancy dinner, what are you grabbing? What's your favorite seafood? Don't tell me you're not a seafood guy.
Not a seafood guy. Don't want an oyster, don't want a shrimp, don't want a scallop. Ate a lobster once in my life because I was in Neptune, New Jersey with my buddy and I didn't want to offend his dad. I will eat fish, but I'm a freshwater guy. It's got to be a perch, got to be a walleye, got to be something like that.
Interesting.
But I have never once in my life ordered shrimp or a scallop. No, I just don't. It's not my thing.
Well,
I am a meat eater.
Cooked meat eater. We covered that already. Cooked. You got to
Did
cook.
that, yeah. And then I argued with a vegetarian the other day too. I'm like, "Listen, dude, I like to remind everybody every once in a while that I am at the top of the food chain.
Yeah,
I want to walk through that and let that cow know I can eat you."
Just talk to him. That's super.
It is only by my grace that you're strolling around that field. Because if I'd had enough, you're going to be on my table.
Well, no lobster at your table for Christmas. Nope. Got it. But there's a lot of people that do. Festival Foods does it right, whether it's Seafood Fest like it was here a short time ago or anything that you need for your holiday meal. Get it now, last minute. Literally, Christmas is just a few days away. Stock the table up with all the things that you want to impress your family with, because let's be honest, it goes downhill from there every single time.
And I think if you look at Festival Foods, as you know, I like the turkey butter at Christmas. I believe you can find a Christmas tree shaped butter.
What?
Yes.
Hold on, I'm doing it right now.
You're just gonna.
All right, Christmas tree butter. Enter. Thinking, come on, are you serious? Look at this. What?
Fennis Dembo and now Christmas tree butter.
Butter sculptures, Christmas tree shaped butter. I'm buying this today. I'm taking it. That's amazing.
Glad I could help.
Yep, thanks. Festival Foods, helpful, and you. So I feel like when you quiz me or we talk about things before 83 or frankly, just when I open my mouth, we have a bit of a blooper reel to go through here from the last year. Why don't you ever make bloopers? Why is it always just me?
I don't think that's not always the case, is it?
Pretty much.
No, I have bloopers. I just kind of get wandering off and talking about things that makes the show longer than it needs to be. I think that's the worst part is I just need to be focused in 24. I need to kind of, instead of just be zipping over here, and getting Gilbert Brown mad at me here, or, I just need to be here. But listen, I've worked in TV for almost 30, maybe 35, more than 35 years. Right at 35 years. I'm all over blooper reels all the time. In fact, I'll tell you, my favorite one of me being stupid, I was 100 years ago. It was a media day down at Oklahoma, down in Norman.
Okay.
And it was that they always, they always ran the ball. Always. They were the wishbone team. They ran it. And then Cale Gundy, they had hired him and hired him. He had signed a letter of intent. It's Mike Gundy's brother that coached at Oklahoma State, but he was a really great player. Now they were going to throw some, and they had a kid from Booker T. Washington High School, Jawan Penny, who was a great wide receiver. And I had said something about that they couldn't throw the ball, and that had always been the stigma at OU. But instead of saying stigma, I had said stigmatism. Like maybe they had bad eyesight, and that's why they couldn't throw the ball. So that was between a guy named John Walls and John Holcomb and Dwayne Parsons. They just never let me live that down. So any stigma that came up, it was always, it's a stigmatism. Like, I got it. I can now see with 20/20 clarity that I screwed up. We can let it go. So
and he played high school baseball. Who was that? I remember that from this last year.
The guy that played high school was come on, the shortstop, JJ Hardy. JJ Hardy played baseball in high school. Yes. That wasn't a blooper. That was actually just the opposite. That was just beaten down until they got tired of us pounding that nail.
That may not have been, but there are a lot of bloopers, and a lot of these bloopers too come from my time with our friends at Blaine's Farm and Fleet and Deeper Roots. I am a blooper machine when that camera gets rolling. You'll see. Have some laughs with our gaffes. That's what we're calling this. Here are the best. What? Laughs with gaffes. I like that. Yeah,
man.
All right, that's a blooper by itself. Here we go. Have some fun. Look at you extending the olive branch to Lance Leipold. That was a very nice way to start the year. All right, it's going to be a good year, man. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for being here, Wisconsin. As always, for Trevor, I'm John. Nope.
And you remember Jim Bouton wrote the famous book Ball 4 based a lot on that season. John's got a more important phone call. Let's take it.
We're good. Apparently that's spam.
There you go. See, now go give that back to the poor fella so he doesn't throw us out of here.
Back to wrap it up with Vinny. Wow.
What's one of the favorite fruits of summer in Wisconsin?
Sweet corn.
Fruit. My job is never done.
That's gonna
Mother,
make the blooper reel.
How about a strawberry?
I would go that route,
which I'd smack you aside the head and show people a strawberry.
Sweet corn is good too. That's Zane Navratil.
Oh boy. Oh, God, we're gonna have to do this again.
Navratil.
Can I stand like 4 feet closer so that we look the same?
This is the cork.
Yep.
Right?
It's called the bung.
The bung?
Yeah.
Trevor, be a mature adult. Then let's go check out in the happens to tall guys. You go.
Baby, come back. Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Like, here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to yell, meow.
All right. Go do some hockey goalieing. Story of my life. You're talking and I am literally sliding right past the camera. On Comet, on Cupid, on Donner, on Miller Lite. That's what we need. Beer. Happy birthday! Isn't that what Frosty says? Happy birthday! He is. That's exactly what he says. Wilson Fraser! You would think that I am absolutely ready for the loony bin. I'm not. It's Christmas. It's a different kind of joy. I'm sitting in a sleigh talking to a gnome. This is what I choose to do for a living. What, you never sat in a sleigh and talked to a gnome? Holly Jolly episode of Deeper Roots with Blaine's Farm and Fleet in the books. These are the unseen pieces.
You know what I like to do is call back the numbers from work. I don't want to call them on my phone and give them more of my phone number.
Right.
But use the work phone. Oh, I didn't know the IRS was located in Biloxi, Mississippi. When did that happen? You know.
I've taken to getting the random text when they just say hi or are you there, and just sending back stuff like, this is the Vice unit at in Seattle, and what can we help you with, or all kinds of things, or sorry I can't talk, I'm in the emergency room, I don't have to be cut off.
Awesome.
Whatever I do. Nobody, and then they never answer back.
Something I always wanted with the statues, but we never had a place around the old stadium where you could put and say, this is our main entrance. Once we did this stadium, we had it, and I had the picture of Lombardi that I wanted to use, I had the picture of Curly that I wanted to use. And magnificent people did it, and I told people it's going to be the most photographed area in the state of Wisconsin. We have weddings who aren't even coming to Lambeau Field. They'll stop by and get their picture taken by the statues. The whole wedding party, and then they get in the limos and take off. So There's a lot of interesting stories about it.
Jeez. I'm not interrupting.
No,
we're just let the rap.
I feel like the 70s show is always my part of this program.
It is. The 90s show is mine, and we'll split the 80s. There's
Right?
that.
For some people, that's the show. You know, look at Derek Jeter with Bob Shepard, the famous PA announcer. You know, and he's like, the first time I heard that, and it meant so much of him that after Bob Shepard had passed away, quit, and then died, he had taped Derek Jeter's intro, so that every time Derek Jeter went up, he still heard Bob Shepard. So there are certain things that you go through it all the time, whether it's a band, whether it's somebody on the radio. Like there are soundtracks of your life, and there are soundtracks of your career. And if you're a kid that grew up in this state, and you get to hear Euchre say your name or call a home run eventually, or one of these things. Like, what are you going to do, right? Like, okay, Cooperstown will be nice, but I got the first step done.
Yeah. There was a game, a couple 2-3 games ago where I think it was back-to-back home runs, and Jeff Levering was sitting next to Bob Uecker. I texted him and said, that's a good day at work right there, sitting next to Bob Uecker. He's like, yep, I had this seat this time, and when it happened again 2-3 years ago, that's a good stuff. The soundtracks of our childhood.
A guy named Mike Ziegenhorn, who was an assignment editor at the first station I worked at out of college, KTUL in Tulsa. And we just go across the street from my house. There's a big open lot, and we just hit baseballs to each other. We were both 22 years old, and we just hit fly balls to each other till the bucket was empty, and then turn around and hit them back to the other guy. So that's always been kind of I'm still a baseball guy. If somebody said today, you want to go have a catch, I'd be like,
yep,
I'm in. Let's go.
Which glove would you grab?
Just depends. It'd probably either be if we're just shagging fly balls, I'm going this one. Like I said, especially because look at that. That lacing job is top notch right there. By the way, if anybody out there's got some glove stuff, send it to me. I'll lace it back up. I'll make it look nice. I'll get it there. We'll cut the strings exactly how you want them, and we'll get it back to you. That's sort of a side operation. So, and then
I just realized,
I do this.
The Rocker's glove is lefty. I just realized that.
There you go, as it should be. As I am left-handed as well, as you know, and I have an affinity for all left-handed pitchers, especially the ones with Brewers. Yeah. Someday, you know what? Here's a John, Wisconsin. I'll tell you about the international incident I caused at a Chibalata Marines spring training game when they were in
awesome.
City or wherever. They were using the complex that the Mariners were using, and I think they shared it with the Padres. And then the Chibalata Marines from the Japanese league came over, and I caused an unbelievable stir.
That's next time. Great.
We could. I'll save that.
We'll
I'm going to
write
write that
down. All right.
Write
that down.
I have a very carefully constructed list of stories I need to see. As you can see, ambulance is cut off here. I'm going to put Chibalata Marines. Again, it's probably a little disappointing, but it's actually kind of funny.
Why do all the greatest hairs in the world? I had great lettuce. You had great lettuce. And here we are bald, and John's got full coverage. It is what it is.
Yeah, I had a big afro. My hair started turning curly when I reached puberty, and I used to take my mom's dippity doo on it, and I would flatten it down and put a stocking hat on like Bronson. I don't know if you remember the old TV show called Bronson, and and then I got to K-State in the 70s, and afros were in, so hey, let it go.
So you mentioned that you make it back here for a bunch of fundraisers, right?
Right.
7, 8, 9 of them a year. That's because you did some studying on how to be an auctioneer. Is that right? You were just back for the Green Bay Phoenix Packers steak fry.
Yeah. We were at a sporting clay event in Brilliant. Yeah. And a guy came up to me and said, hey, he said, well, we got 2 Benelli shotguns donated, but we got no auctioneer. Well, growing up in a small town, I went to estate auctions. I went to, cattle sales. I go, well, I've been to an auction before. He goes, all right, you're our auctioneer. So I get up there and it's like, what do you want to give for it? Who'll give me 5, 5.5? Who'll give me 6? Here we go now. So, everybody goes, wow, you were great. Well, then I get back here in Missouri where I live now, and I got a buddy that is an auctioneer, and he goes, well, you need to get a little slogan. And he gave me a little one, and mine is bidder buddy bet $1, bid $1. So here we go now. Everybody bet $1. Who's going to give me 5, 5.5? Who's going to give me 6? Somebody, anybody give me a big. Here we go now. Everybody bet $1. Here we go. Somebody give me 5. So you kind of work the crowd, get people going against each other, get a little enthusiasm going. And
I just gave you all my money and I don't even know what I bought.
There we go. Well, that's what I tell people. I go, I'm not really an auctioneer, but I'm going to pretend I'm an auctioneer. You people all pretend that you have money. And we'll make this thing work. So it's got me a few gigs here and there. Sometimes you go to the auctions and people are like, well, we got this signed Packer helmet. Somebody want Bob back there. Okay, Bob, give me a 100. Anybody give me 200? Larry. All right, Larry, give me 2. But come on, man, get this thing going. You're gonna lose your audience here. So I get up there and mess around and have fun with it.
Listen, if you tell me you can call a square dance too, then I will know you are about as Kansas as they come.
No, can't do the square dance. I can swing dance. My wife and I, we do that.
Because a lot of those guys that are engineers, auctioneers on Saturday, they call the square dance too down the barn. They got no limit on their ability.
Yeah,
it comes through. So
hey, well, the old saying when I played was, the more you can do, the longer they'll keep you around. So I keep getting invited back to these events, and so if they need me to, I'll do it. And all of a sudden, people want to come to Green Bay. It's like, look, Green Bay is going to pay you, And it seemed like you had Judge Perrins, you had Forrest Gregg in there. Forrest would come in and tell people, I'm searching the waiver wire to replace you guys. You suck. You're making too much money. And it's like, really? We're supposed to lay our life on the line for this guy? It was just... It was a whole different thing once they fired Bart and brought in Forrest, and it seemed like they were just focused on making money. We got to make a profit. Well, you don't have an owner taking off the top. You're going to make money. You're sold out every game. Your fans love you. Let's win. That's let's get a Super Bowl. That's the goal here in professional football.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, I would imagine that your life choices when LT lines up against you, you're like,
yeah,
this is going to be a long day at work.
It was an opportunity. It was opportunity to show the rest of the league what I could do against the best.
Hell yeah.
So I would get pumped. I got one year. It's kind of my second year, I believe, and maybe second or third. I was starting to get some notoriety in the league, and we were playing against the Houston Oilers, and they had an outside linebacker by the name of Robert Brazil, and Robert just got inducted into the Hall of Fame either last year or the year before. So I'm pumped. And Robert is one of these guys that he talks the whole game. He talks about your mama. He talks about your girlfriend, tries to get your focus off what you're trying to do and just onto that personal battle with him. Well, on this play, I fire out on Robert. I got my helmet right in his chest. I got my fist up in his gut. Boom, boom, feet are wide. Boom, pancake him, put him on his back. All of a sudden, Robert jumps up. His fists are clenched. I'm thinking he's going to hit me, so I brace myself. Robert steps back, goes, Kaufman. Said, you're a good ball player, Kaufman. Said, the coaches warned me that you'd be firing out on me. I'm thinking, damn, Robert Brazil thinks I'm a good ball player. I wanted to go back to the huddle and tell the rest of the guys what Robert said about me. But on the very, very next play was a play where I step off the line of scrimmage. I go in motion. They hike the ball when I get behind one of our big tackles. It's a delay route. And I'll squat down, hide behind the tackle, 1,001, 1,002, wait for the linebackers to split, run a little curl route over the middle. Lynn hits me with the ball, and 8 yards, 10 yards, whatever. I mean, it works a lot. And so I go in motion. They hike the ball. I squat down. I see the linebackers split. I run my little curl over the middle. But what I don't see is their strong safety, Vernon Perry's got me man-to-man. I catch the ball. I take one step upfield. Vernon comes right across my face mask with his forearm, knocks my helmet off. My feet go up in the air. The back of my head hits the ground.
Oh.
And it dazes me. It knocks me out. And I'm laying there. And I finally opened my eyes. There's old Robert Brazil standing over me, and he goes, Vernon's a good ball player too. So on any given play, you don't know who's going to take your head off, And back in the day, concussion protocol was, how many fingers do I have up? You'd go 2. They'd go close enough. Get back in there.
Long as you roundabout.
Smelling.
So, by the way,
smelling salts.
Robert Brazil was drafted in 1975, 2 spots behind his teammate from Jackson State, Walter Payton. That's just for Trevor, because Trevor will never know that. I'm just trying to educate. We have a section, too, where we just like to call it Educating Trevor. So now he knows about some of the guys from the HBCUs, and Robert Brazil was a teammate with Walter Payton. So I'm not sure what that Oklahoma drill looked like if those two went at each other, but that could not have been that pleasant. Your time in the league, that position changed from sort of this blocker. Then on occasion we went out and threw some, but you came in and caught passes, and Kellen Winslow came into the league and changed the position, and Todd Christensen. You were part of a transformation of the position. That's how I see it. You played the game. Did you see that evolving as you were going through your career?
I kind of felt Bart, the old Packers, run the ball. I had to block.
Mm-hmm.
Kellen, Ozzie, Todd, I love Todd. Great guy. I recently passed away, but Todd I didn't even attempt to block people. He almost hurt himself getting out of the way. But in Green Bay, we were expected to block. Mm-hmm. And my friends on the team were Larry McCarron, Greg Cook, obviously Lynn Dickey. But I felt like I would go to 5 o'clock club on Thursdays with the offensive line. Mm-hmm. And I felt like they embraced me because of my blocking abilities. Even though I wasn't that big, I did the best job I could blocking, and they saw that, and I was very effective doing it. But then, Ozzie, Kellen, Todd, and then now like Travis Kelce, they line him up wide. My son Chase played tight end in high school and in college. He never put his hand on the ground. Mm-hmm. He was just a 6'6" mismatch. Unfortunately, he got drafted by the Bengals, who tried to make him an inline blocking tight end. And, it didn't work. But then, he played behind Tony Gonzalez. He played behind, he got 8 years in, and, he did what he could do. So, but there was that transition. But now, Kelce doesn't block much. Mm-hmm. Some of these other guys that are around the league, they don't block much either.
Would you have been in the league if that was the way the tight end position had played back then? Would you have had the career you had?
I think being in Green Bay, like I said, watching James Lofton, coming from Stanford, Bill Walsh, he's, in his induction speech, he goes, he knew Bill Walsh when he was just a smart guy before he got the genius status, Right. Having Bill as his coach, just watching him run routes, I would try to emulate him. And I would actually, during practice, especially during training camp when there were a lot of rookie DBs, I'd go out and run my routes against, the corners, just to get practice running routes, setting people up, shaking them, you change the speed, just doing different things. And then when I would use that on linebackers, they would just go, I think John Anderson, not you, John Anderson, but the outside linebacker, John Anderson, he'd say, you get down there and you start shaking, I think you're just going to fly apart. I don't know which way you're going. That's the idea. I don't want you to know which way I'm going.
There it is. It's my John
There
Anderson.
you go.
Just in case.
Mm-hmm.
George Cumby went to my church as a kid. What do we know about George Cumby?
George Cumby, when I played at Kansas State.
Oh, yeah, he's at OU.
Yeah, he was at OU. And he had another linebacker by the name of Rod Schote. that went to New England.
Really good player.
Okay. We're playing down in Norman. I mean, they've scored 40 some points the first half. And the second half comes out and none of their starters even came on the field. George Cumby and Rod Schote had their shoulder pads off. They were sitting in the stands with their girlfriends. We scored a couple quick touchdowns. All of a sudden, Coach Switzer hollers at them. They come down out of the stands, put their shoulder pads and helmets and stuff back on, get on the field. Their offense scored another quick couple touchdowns, and then, they went back to their little party. So,
listen, I don't ever like to one up a guest, but I went to the first game I saw in Norman. I went down to watch Missouri play. We got beat 77-0. Okay, so I've seen your pain.
The Brewers right now are crushing it. I missed out on a game, guys. Story time. Like, they played the Marlins recently. They scored, what was it, 16-2? They won.
Yeah, 12-run inning.
I was going to bring my wife to that game. I was so excited. I was like, it's a Friday. It was perfect. We're going to go. We're going to watch the Brewers. And some scheduling conflict happened. She had a birthday party to go to. I couldn't go to that game. I was distraught. I couldn't see the boys put up 16 runs on the Marlins. I was so upset. That was a huge missed opportunity there.
So it's always interesting, John, to watch this episode because you and I do this as like literally every other week. We're constantly talking about who's coming up next, and you kind of forget, at least I do, who we had on. So to watch some of these best of clips, and I mean, Red from that 70s show, if you want to be called a dumbass, you're a dumbass. Like,
I have that written down. I have Red calling you a dumbass was good in there. I like that nobody wanted to bleep with the Watts, which was good. I could sit and just listen to Charlie Barons describe how to get to the bronze fawns from his house over and over again because I'm not sure if he's doing it character or if that's just him.
People said that. They're like, we can't tell if that's him.
I know he's got this guy, but I'm like, I think that's just him, and that's how he would describe it, And then even though it was our most recent, like as a guy who literally last purchased his last Packer jersey was Don Mikowski. That was great to hear from the Magic Man. That was great.
This is going to be a tough year to beat. We set the bar pretty high. This was already our third calendar year of doing this. So off to 2024, our fourth year, if you will, doing the Inside Wisconsin show. And we got to get on it, man. There's some big names that were on this list last year. And I think we got to do a little homework to try to get some more, but I'm excited for what's to come.
As long as we don't bring the former Whitewater coach back, we'll be fine.
It was a big one. All right.
You never know.
Anybody else with Kansas ties from Wisconsin out of curiosity that you can think of? Not that you tell me anyway, let's be honest.
I was going to say, let's just let that go. That's just gonna lead to places we don't want to go.
Okay. Not a great way to end the year. Got it. All right. Well, thanks, man. It was a really fun year again. Off we go to 2024. Merry Christmas to you and your family and everybody that views and watches and comments and likes and shares. Couldn't do it without you.
I don't know that for you and I, this is, I'd say it's a labor of love, but there's not a lot of labor in it. And so I would, just express our thanks to the people that, kind of decide that they want to spend an hour with this tomfoolery. And it is like, I just went and did a banquet in Denver for the Bowerman, which is the top track and field athlete in the country. And one of the coaches said to me, and this was so true. He said, you go to these meets and the NCAA people are nuts, and then coaches are trying to get in the way. And then there's the TV window, right? Like there's all these problems. And then the kids get on the track and he's like, and they bail us out every time because they perform great and they're awesome. And that's kind of how I feel like this. You and I might just be, just screaming chimps, but the guests bail us out every time. And for that, I am grateful for those who watch, and I am grateful for those guests that have come on because they bail us out every time.
Well said. And off to Christmas we go in the new year. Will you please try tiger meat? That, by the way, went over like a farting church. Like, you are the only person in Wisconsin that's never heard of tiger meat.
And you know what? I'm okay with that. Totally. I will wear that badge. Not afraid of it.
Well, I'm off to eat some tiger meat, and a lot of us here in Wisconsin will do the same. All right, buddy. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you and all of you out there. We're grateful. We will see you in 2024 as you were, Wisconsin. Remember to subscribe on YouTube. Leave a review. Smash the like button. Just get with us.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Provea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Shut up and sit down.